isn't gonna be, like, this is not gonna be a playthrough. I am gonna load the game up, though, just so I can, like, run around and shit. This isn't gonna be a playthrough, this is gonna be me talking about what I think is going on in the story. So, in the first game, we have all of the dogs and shit, where they're showing Stamp in your face, and they're making it out like this is a sequel, and I'm gonna find a wheelie, and we're just gonna drive around on the wheelie and do wheelie shenanigans while I'm talking about this. So I want to introduce myself a bit, who I am. So, I'm one of the people that figured out that there was actually a negative live stream in Final Fantasy VII. I used to post on adventchildren.net under the name Ominous Angel, and I had a big thread in that called Master of Puppets like 20 years ago, and I'm still here talking about Final Fantasy VII years and years later, which it is my favorite thing ever. So it's my favorite story. It's the one video game that made me feel something. I'm very emotionally invested in the story. It's the one piece of media I've constantly liked my whole entire life. So I wonder if we could take the wheelie outside. Oh, probably not. That's not cool. Too bad we couldn't steal it. That'd be fun. Sorry, sidetrack. So anyways, while we're doing our wheelie shenanigan and we're making a ruckus and just disrupting this town, so at the beginning of this game, we see some weird shit, which is basically, there's like two worlds going on, and that was what they wanted to convey at the ending of Rebirth, basically. I'm sorry if you can't take me seriously because I'm doing all this. And that's, they're, in the remake, they're shoving that dog Stamp in your face. They're talking about Stamp. There's, when you're playing it, you're like, why do they keep talking about this dog? Like, what's the significance of this? Because usually, when people add things to a story, there's always a reason for it. So, by the time you get to the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you're thinking, okay, this game's actually a sequel of some kind, or New Game Plus, and that very well, some of those elements might be the case, but I have a whole nother theory that I want to throw out there that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and that's that there is no multiverse. It's not a sequel, it's not New Game Plus. And how, you may ask, and the answer is right here. Mr. Strife, who's causing a ruckus and having a little episode in Costa del Sol right now, embarrassing Yuffie and Aerith here. And why that is, exactly. Well, if you've played the original Final Fantasy VII, you should know, and I'm going to be talking spoilers here, you should know that Cloud is not a soldier first class. He was just an ordinary soldier that wanted to be... He was a kid that wanted to impress a girl, and he had some bad shit happen to him, and he was at the Nibelheim incident, but, you know, he was just like, he's the little grunt that's quiet, that isn't talking, and he's hiding his identity because he's embarrassed, because he wanted to impress Tifa and get the girl, and he never made it in Soldier. He's just a regular guy. His friend Zack is the one that is actually doing all the cool shit with Sephiroth, so let's get all that out of the way. And then Zack eventually gets gunned down when they escape from Shinra, who basically comes in, and after the incident's over and Cloud kills Sephiroth, that is something he does. He does kill him and throw him in the life stream in the reactor. That absolutely happens. So, like, why is this important to the story? Because right now, we're at the beginning of the damn story still. Like, Cloud still hasn't, like, resolved who he is as a person yet. He still thinks that he's Cloud Strife Soldier First Class. Fucking superhero goddamn one-man army, as Biggs put it. And he absolutely is doing things like that in this game and the first game. because he has Genova cells put in him, and Hojo experimented on him for 5 years, and he's been stuck in the damn mansion. And Zack busted him out, and Zack didn't abandon Cloud, and Zack died protecting Cloud. And Shinra just left him to die, figuring he would just, like, rot, basically, because they took out Zack, who was the escape target. They just left Cloud like, he's worthless, we don't need to kill him. So needless to say, Cloud's a little traumatized at death, considering that he just went through the whole Nibelheim incident. His mom gets killed, everyone in his town gets killed by his fucking hero, who goes completely psycho, and his best friend that just dragged him to save his life just gets gunned down in front of him. So, yeah, Zack put him in a, he was in Mako so close, so he put him in the soldier first class uniform, so he didn't smell bad, to get the Mako off him, because it's like gasoline, basically. And, I'm sorry, I'm having Cloud shenanigan fun here. So, Cloud's a little confused, and he doesn't like it when his friends die, basically. So, what I'm trying to say is the dogs are not necessarily timelines, per se, but, they are his perspective of the story. So the Beagle world is the world that he's actually living in right now, and he is essentially, like, it's the real world. Like, the Beagle world is the real world. It's reality. There's no getting out of it. The Terrier world you see at the end is Cloud's imagination or memory of things. He doesn't want to think of his friend as being dead, so he assumes his identity and erases him from existence, and, he's the soldier first class. It was him. He's cool, nobody died, everything's fine, and so the reason they're showing Zack and all that stuff and the dog's changing and he lives is because you're walking by the spot where that all happened at the end of Remake, and that would trigger some kind of emotional memory of some kind, right? So, what does he do? He changes the story. Oh, Zack's okay. On a subconscious level, he's fine. He carried me to Midgar, and, shit's good. There's nothing wrong with him. So he's just kind of daydreaming and making up this story. So at the beginning of this game, Rebirth, you see the Terrier world where you're fought Fate or the Harbingers or whatever, and I also think the Whispers are imaginary enemies and they're not even real, and that's going to be addressed in the next game. They just weren't real. All that stuff you were seeing was just Sephiroth kind of showing Cloud what he wanted to do, and Cloud was just imagining and twisting reality to make it cooler and make himself seem cooler, because that's what he was all about. He wants to be a cool guy, he wants to impress the girl, he wants Tifa to like him, and, he's got this new girlfriend, Aerith, and she's cool too, and she's a superhero, and she's totally into him too, and he's totally into her, and, he's got the two waifu thing going, and he doesn't know which one he wants, really, at this point in the story. So, she's telling him about Zack and trying to coax out Zack, information about him throughout the story, and he doesn't remember, and then suddenly he starts changing the story in this game, and you see the soldier that goes down the river, and he's like, oh, well, that was Zack. He died drowning in the river. So he's changing his story, and now all of a sudden he remembers who Zack is, and he starts opening up about it. So then the dogs all start changing again, and we go back to Biggs, who's somehow miraculously alive and surprisingly, sorry, Wheelie Chaos. It's way more fun to me than just showing random cutscenes of all this stuff. And so Biggs ends up dying the same way. He gets fucking shot. And then he's gone. And he dies literally the same way in the most NPC way possible. If we go back to Remake, even Wedge dies exactly the same way. He falls to his death, like he was originally supposed to. Jessie is dead, she dies normally, but that is only accepted because Cloud is with Aerith. Biggs, when he dies, nobody is with Cloud, so he doesn't process and understand the fact that he actually died. So he's basically just like, you're good, buddy, you can go talk to those orphans yourself. I'm expecting you to know basically what happened in both games to have an understanding of where I'm going with this. So in both games, at the end of both games, you confront Sephiroth, and he says, those with clouded eyes, and with clouded eyes, you'll never see the truth, basically. So what's going on is, Cloud is having an episode, and he's lying to himself about what's actually going on in the story of this game. He thinks he's some kind of soldier first class superhero, and his friends are all superhero, and they're on a quest to save the planet, which, I mean, they are. So he sort of has, like, main character syndrome, even though he is the main character of the game. But he's really not who he thinks he is, and he's not as important as he thinks he is, and Sephiroth is exploiting that weakness because Cloud has Genova cells now, and Sephiroth is in Cloud's head fucking with him because he wants Cloud to bring him the black materia because Cloud is the one that basically fucking killed him in the Nibelheim flashback. So what does this have to do with the dogs and all the future scenes and all the nostalgia stuff? Well, all the dogs keep changing because Sephiroth is screwing with them, and essentially the dogs are Cloud's story changing. That's what he's doing. He's changing the story. He's changing his lie to make it so you're still believing that you're fighting time ghosts or plot ghosts that are keeping the story intact, and there's multiple words, and there's still a chance that we're gonna save Aerith, and that Aerith isn't gonna get killed at the end, because that's what happens. So we get to the end of the game, and the same thing basically happens. Aerith is killed, and it's super confusing, but she's not killed. But if she isn't killed in another world, why is she laying down playing dead and just laying there and not doing anything, and nobody's doing anything, and there's rainbows and sparkles everywhere, and she's totally fine and alive, and then the ending happens, and she's totally alive and fine, and, you know, she's totally alive, everything's cool, she's just in another timeline, bro, right? That's what everybody's argument is? No, that's not what happened. What's going on, and what the theme of Final Fantasy VII is life, and they're not going to change that at all. Like, that's what makes the story of this game so special. Man, the workers here must really hate me. Final Fantasy VII is about life and how fragile and precious it is, and they're not going to change that to make some kind of weird, like, time travel story. I mean, it might still be a New Game Plus. That stuff might be true. Like, there might be an Omni Aerith or an Omni Sephiroth or something, but what I think is the case is they're going to explain how Sephiroth becomes in control of Genova. I think Genova started off in control, and the reunion is about getting the black materia, and I think we might even team up with Sephiroth in the third game and fucking kill a version of Genova, and then Sephiroth's going to take over, or fight Genova and basically come out on top as the dominant personality with Cloud's up. I do think they're going to do something like that. The Aerith at the end of the game, though, isn't Aerith. It's fucking Sephiroth pretending to be Aerith. I'm not talking about the Aerith that, like, helps him, like, the ghost Aerith in the mental battle in his head. That's clearly Aerith's spirit probably helping him, but she is fucking dead. Zack is fucking dead. Biggs is fucking dead. Everybody dies the same exact way. Nothing was changed, and they're making it seem like there's this other multiverse. It's all bullshit. It's all Cloud lying to himself. He's in denial. He's in denial about Zack being dead the whole entire fucking time. He doesn't even remember Zack. And he's only starting to remember his mom dying at the beginning of Remake, and what an asshole Sephiroth is, because they had to, like, explain some of it since they're breaking it up into 3 games and expanding on it and adding compilation stuff to it. So the dogs aren't actually timelines, they're like daydreams of his, and he's lying to himself to keep his soldier first class lie intact so that he can impress Tifa and get the girl. That's what Cloud is, his whole deal is about. And that's kind of why I relate to him, because when I was a depressed teenager as a kid, like, I mean, that's why I was drawn to this story. I totally got Cloud and why he did what he did, and, you know, that's some personal stuff about me, why I think the story is just fantastic. They even foreshadow all this shit with Red 13. It's totally in your face. It's there. It's not a multiverse story. You're not fighting Dementors. It's not Kingdom Hearts. They're not ruining Final Fantasy VII. You just don't understand Final Fantasy VII, and you never did. Like, everyone that makes fun of it, Advent Children and Cloud, and calls him emo Cloud, like, that's the joke, right? Cloud's emo, like, you don't understand the fucking character, and you don't understand Sephiroth, and why Sephiroth is actually cool to begin with. Sephiroth is cool because of his design and his sword and everything, but what made Sephiroth stand out to me is, like, the ultimate fucking Final Fantasy VII villain is he fucks with you. He plays mind games with you. In the original Final Fantasy VII, he's screwing with you, making you think you're not even a real fucking person. Like, that is why it was such a good game, is he convinces the main character that he's so absolutely worthless, that he's not even the real person, he's just a copy or some kind of fucking puppet that is copying a memory of a person that might have been named Cloud. And that is what he does, and that is what's going on, is you're all being gaslit by Sephiroth. You're not playing fucking a multiverse New Game Plus sequel. You're playing a remake of the original story told from the perspective of Cloud, who's really confused and doesn't understand what death even is. Which is why at the end of this game, when he's holding Aerith's fucking dead hand to his face, and he tells her, Aerith, wake up. That was one of the most horrifying moments in the story, to the point that I couldn't play this game for like 2 or 3 months after watching the ending the first time, because I picked up on it and figured it out. That's what I think's going on, and that's why I think I absolutely think my theory is 100% correct, at least the dog thing, because everyone's trying to put theories together and they can't. And the reason that you can't is what makes my theory work. My theory is that basically none of this makes sense because Cloud is changing his fucking story. That's why you can't piece anything together. It doesn't matter if you delve deeply into Norse mythology or other bullshit that they put in the game, like, that make it cool, like, you know, all kinds of stuff, like what the Gondamarong is, and all of these other weird things that people find. Like, you're all looking into it too hard. It's really not that complicated. You just need to look at the original Final Fantasy VII, play it, understand what the hell's going on in it, that you're not really chasing Sephiroth, you're being summoned to him, and you're just following the black robe guys around, and Sephiroth is basically possessing them, and he's fucking with Cloud because he wants the black materia. He wants to own Cloud, and he wants them to give him the black materia. And after Sephiroth gets the black materia, he's done with Cloud. Cloud's a Dixie cup. He throws him in the garbage. You will not see Sephiroth probably talk, or rather, I hope that they do this. Like, after Sephiroth gets the black materia, he needs to just be gone until the final fight, and then he doesn't even need to speak to you at all. Like, he shouldn't say a single word to you, just like in the original game. Like, he's just done with you at that point. Like, he doesn't need you anymore. You're just, you know, you're his enemy, but you're not all that important to him. Like, he wanted you to give him the black materia because you killed him. He manipulated you into giving it to him. That proves his superiority complex, and he doesn't need you anymore. And sure, he's gonna fight you because you're trying to kill him, and then you kill him and whoop his ass at the end, and that look of shock on his face that you actually beat him and he lost. And then Advent Children happens, and, you know, he's trying to fuck with him again. But, like, that's essentially the story, and that's what I think the dogs are. I don't think that there's multiple worlds or timelines. I think there's the real world, and I'm going to go back into the beginning of this game, which I think proves it. At the beginning of this game, you're playing as Zack, you're carrying a wounded Cloud, and you're coming into Midgar, and the town of Midgar, sorry, I can't talk, is all... It's destroyed. Like, the tower, the Shinra Tower is destroyed. You see the Terrier timeline stamp on a billboard, and you see the top of the Shinra Tower ripped off, and you're listening to this news report. Well, Cloud listens to that very same news report in the Calm Inn, and you go on the clock tower with Aerith, and the Shinra Tower is fine, and then you later find out you're still in the Beagle world. So what Cloud is doing is, he's subconsciously keeping Zack alive in his head, basically, and even at the end of the game, when Cloud and Zack team up, if you go into the menu, like this menu this menu right here, where you see all the damn characters, it will say Cloud and Zack. Zack's model isn't even in the game. His stats are where it says, like, level 70 and shit, but, like, you will not see the actual character standing there. He's not there because he's dead, and it's like a spiritual battle, essentially. So, it doesn't make sense either, because Zack and Cloud would have been at Midgar weeks prior, before all of the events of Final Fantasy VII happened, like the reactor bombing and everything. So, if what they're trying to make you think is that somehow a second world was created, and there's two of every character, and there's two Barretts, and two Red 13s, and two Aeriths, and they're doing that to confuse the shit out of you, so that you're not looking at the real thing, which is Cloud is just denying that people are dying. Wedge, no matter what, in both worlds, he dies the same way. Biggs, he dies the same way. It even hints that Zack is killed by all the Shinra soldiers in some of those other dog timelines at the end of this, and he just runs away, and he says something about, like, defying fate or whatever. It's Cloud refusing to accept reality. He's refusing to accept Zack died. He's refusing to accept Biggs died. He's refusing to accept Aerith died. And she's still there, and he's still making her there. And at this point, at the end of this game, he's so messed up over the loss of Aerith, that I guarantee you, Aerith's still going to be in the party in the next game. She's just gonna pop fucking out of wherever they're at when they get separated, and she's gonna be there talking to Cloud until the Whirlwind Maze shit happens, and Cloud gives Sephiroth the black materia, then he summons the meteor, and then I think that at that point, we're gonna have Tifa be the main character, and there's gonna be no Stamp the dog, and they're gonna start talking about all of the shit that happened, like it never happened. Like, oh, was Cloud fighting those ghost things again? Oh my god! Like, we need to find him and make sure he's okay. And like, he really went off the deep end there. I think some of the characters might even like lose hope in him. I think they should be pissed at him for giving the black materia up, and they really should play into that more in this version. But I think Tifa will end up staying behind with Cloud when they find him, and then we're gonna have the whole thing where we figure out who Cloud really is, that he was just the ordinary soldier, and we're gonna have this big, long, drawn-out red pill moment where we find out that the ghosts aren't real. And all these like little tiny small moments from Remake all the way through Rebirth played out exactly the same way as the original Final Fantasy VII. Like, Cloud went down into the avalanche thing, and there were no ghost trains, and another weird thing too is like in Junon Harbor, they're calling the cannon, the sister ray, earlier than it's supposed to be called. It should not be called that yet, which makes me think there might be some New Game Plus things going on, like there might be an Omni Aerith, and maybe there's an Omni Sephiroth that's trying to, maybe there are some time travel shenanigans, but mostly, I think the ghosts are probably not real enemies, or they're imaginary enemies that Cloud made up. And the party may end up, I mean, maybe they were real, but are manifested as real because of his dreams or whatever. So maybe those will end up being real, but for the most part, that's my theory. Cloud is, like, messed up in the head, and the directors of this game want you to experience the same exact confusion and the same problems and the same exact perspective as Crazy Man on the Wheelie here, who's terrorizing these poor citizens and workers of Costa del Sol because he doesn't remember everything, and he's denying death, and he's looking at everything with clouded eyes. And it's literally in his name. They named him Cloud, like Cloud, and his name is Cloud Strife. So, like, his name was chosen for a specific reason in the original game, and that's what they're just really playing off of. He's not seeing things clearly. He's full of strife. Like, that's what's going on in this game. That's my take on the whole thing. So that's my theory. That's why none of everyone else's theories, they can't be pieced together. That's the whole point. The whole point is you can't put the theories together. There is nothing to make sense out of this because it's all a lie. He keeps changing his story, which is why the dog changes. The Beagle World stamps the real one, the real reality. And Cloud's misremembering, or he's telling a story about Zack and how Zack is this awesome friend that saved him, and he's living in another Midgar and shit, so he's lying. So the dog changes to a terrier. Then the dog changes again because he's telling different stories about Zack going off to save Biggs from Mako Reactor 1, so it's a pug. And then the dog turns into, I don't know, what the other breed was, but he goes and he has this awesome date scene with Aerith when he's fucking unconscious after beating her ass and taking the black materia and falling into the pit, because he, like, is injured and unconscious at this point, and he's having a dream that Aerith is running off to stop Sephiroth, and maybe they're having, like, a dream mind meld thing going on, and Aerith wants to go on a date with them, and she definitely probably has the ability to, like, go inside of his memories and shit, which is what I think all these worlds are just what-if stories he's playing out in his head. And Sephiroth is just Sephiroth, and he's fucking straight up lying to him because he just wants the black materia, so he's like, oh yeah, Cloud, yeah, like, you're gonna totally help me, and we're gonna totally save the planet, we're gonna defy destiny, and, you know, Like, remember how you used to think I was really cool and, you know, you looked up to me? Well, actually, I'm really the good guy in this story, and you should give me the black materia so I can make it so we never die, and, you know, we're gonna create a future together, and I'll let you be a part of that too, because, you know, we're friends, and, you know, I could have killed you, but I let you live, because I wanted you with me to see all this, and shit like that. Like, Sephiroth's whole thing is he's a lying manipulator. Everything he tells you in the game is a lie. He's lying to you about Tifa being fake. He's lying to you about everything. Nothing Sephiroth says should be taken seriously at all whatsoever after he becomes a bad guy. He is lying and manipulating you into trying to trust him, and he's gaslighting you into thinking that he's the good guy and he's trying, maybe there's a redemption arc coming. It's all bullshit. It's the same story. If you look at it and you just play the original game and you, like, understand that they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna turn this into a lame multiverse sequel for fan service. They're not. This is their golden goose. This is their magnum opus fucking game and story. Final Fantasy VII is basically what puts Squaresoft on the map. They're not going to turn it into, like, a lame multiverse story. They're just not gonna do it. It might be some New Game Plus stuff going on, but there's absolutely no way in hell they're going to let Aerith be alive and Zack be alive. They're just doing this stuff in a way to kind of, like, make you... They're doing it to, like, show... they're doing it to make the story better, honestly. Like, I love the changes, because that's what I've always thought was going on. At first I was like, oh my god, are they really making a sequel? Are they really gonna let Aerith live? And then... up until I finished this game the first time, I thought there was a possibility of that, but then I kind of realized, I'm like, damn, Sephiroth's saying the same things, and then you're watching the end of this game, and it's so confusing. If you saved Aerith at the end of this game and created another timeline, or another world or whatever, after all the worlds were merged or whatever... Why would Aerith just lay there and pretend to be dead? Why wouldn't she get up and start helping Cloud fight Sephiroth? She does eventually show up, but that's a mental battle, and then she fades away after holding his hand, and she's even telling you, the game is telling you she is going to die, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Not to blame yourself, and that's the whole point of what makes this game so good, is you can't save the princess this time. This is the one game you don't get to save the princess. You fail. You fail, and you have to go with the rebound princess and save the world and the people that are still alive and the cycle of life and everything that the first princess that you liked stood for. And that's basically the point of the game. And that's the point of this trilogy and this remake, is they're just trying to really enhance the elements of Cloud's amnesia and confusion, and I don't think I could spell it out even more for anyone. So, we're gonna end this. I'm gonna get off this thing. Now that I've terrorized Costa del Sol.
It's so good to see you again. I've been traveling.
Oh, shut up, Chadley. We're not friends.
Difficulty narrowing it down.
Like, another thing they should have did with this game is they should let you have Zack and Sephiroth to do all of these. Well, like, in here, like, this is good guy Sephiroth you get to use. Essentially... Oh, I don't have the thing on.
Keep it together. You're in good hands.
So that's basically my theory, and just maybe talk about it a bit more. I'm trying to think of anything I may have missed while I'm doing this. Which... So you're gonna be like, but, Rob, what about, the end of Remake and all the parts where it's showing... Well, that's unfortunate. And it's showing all of the... Did that interrupt my Octaslash? That's so unfortunate. Alright, I'm just not gonna bother with this. What about all this stuff at Remake with the timelines and the Assess and Rubrum and Viridian, the three whispers you fight at the end that turn into Bahamut, and the Arbiter of Fate when you scan them in the Assess? Well, that's a good point.
Perhaps you're having an off day.
Oh, I'm definitely having an off day, because I don't know that I'm not a soldier first class. You go into enemy intel and like in Remake, and you can read some of this stuff, and like Virtual Sephiroth, you know, nothing about him. Forgotten Capital, nothing about him. Unable to read. Does it say anything about resurrected being who now wields unimaginable might and commands the arbiters of fate? He seeks to pierce through the layers of existence and reunite fragmented space-time. He shall rule over the planet and create eternity. This is essentially the same shit he wants to do in the original game. They're just putting in Bizarro Sephiroth now because it's cool. I think we're gonna fight Bizarro Sephiroth again, and it's just gonna all be Genova shit at the end. Like, and then we have this, a unique arbiter of fate that opposes all who attempt to defy the inevitable. Intrinsically connected to the planet's destiny across all of time and space. So this Whisper is a plot ghost, and it's a multiverse one. So this one's different from the one we fought in Remake, according to what it's saying. And it's white, and it has a little ghostly bubble inside its head, unlike the ones from the first game, except there's like the Black Whispers too, which we couldn't, you know, check those. The Gi basically were expanded upon and made way better, and they basically sum up the whole negative life stream idea that I had, where they're alien. Sephiroth is essentially an alien hybrid. He can't die. He can't return to the planet. That's why Advent Children happens. That's why he's able to come back, because his spirit can't be recycled because he didn't come from this planet, so he's incompatible with it. So he's basically the new Gene attack, essentially. And that's, you know, he can only have a physical body if he has Genova cells, and his remnants are broken down a bit from the end of the original Final Fantasy VII, where you kill Sephiroth in the mental battle in the life stream, and he breaks into three separate, like, little red life stream. It used to be red life stream, but they changed it to black. But it used to be red. If you go watch the end of the original game, and you'll clearly see what I'm talking about with that. Well, anything for Genova Life Clinger. The calamity from the stars that fell into a deep slumber after its conflict with the Cetra, newly awakened, though, through the grace of the black-robed sacrifice, it seeks to sweep its way through the life stream and bring about the end. So Genova's just doing what Genova always did. It's this eldritch horror alien monster that is essentially John Carpenter's The Thing, but with like magic involved and everything. And this one says a top secret Shinra experiment specimen fragments of its carcass are fused with the robe, individuals granting a twisted form. So this is just only a piece of it. So I think we're gonna I think they're gonna maybe say, because a lot of people like to argue over it, was Jenova in control or was Sephiroth in control, or is Jenova and Sephiroth the same thing, and people are just confused because it's in human form, and Sephiroth, the personality of Sephiroth and the identity is just the consciousness it wears like a mask, essentially, once it realizes what it is, or are they just the same damn thing? Because if you watch John Carpenter's The Thing, I think you can learn a lot about what Jenova is. It's a colony of, like, individual cells that copy and mimic things. And if you throw magic in the mix, it really explains, like, what Jenova is. It's this alien thing that came and fucked the planet up 2,000 years ago, and it got sealed in a rock, and then they found it, and it looked like this hot chick that was mummified and dead, and they called it Jenova, and they thought it was a Cetra, because Cetra aren't really alive at this point, so they did a bunch of experiments not really knowing what they were fucking with, and they got Sephiroth and Genesis and Angeal, basically. And then they all kind of figure it out and go a little crazy, and then, you know, Sephiroth comes up with his God plan, which I think it's just all gonna come down to the third game and the red pill moment. We're gonna have this big red pill moment. Sephiroth is gonna blue pill you first into thinking you're not even Cloud, and that you're just some fucking Jenova puppet monster, and that you're not even a real person, that you're not even the real Cloud. You're gonna give him the black materia, he's gonna laugh, he's gonna summon Meteor, the weapons are gonna wake up, Tifa's gonna be upset, then she's gonna go find him, and then we're gonna have this big, long-ass red pill cutscene where Cloud remembers everything. He remembers he wasn't in Soldier. He remembers how his mom died. He remembers how Biggs died. We go back to Remake. We go through the whole entire sequence of events up to Aerith dying. He realizes Aerith dies. It plays what actually happened at the end of Rebirth, which was completely omitted and blacked out of this game on purpose. They lay all their damn cards on the table. They explain everything. Everything is wrapped up. Cloud is whole again. And then we grab the gang together, get on the high wind, and then we go kick his ass and fucking stop the meteor, and then play through Advent Children and kill him again. And that's how it's gonna go. That's what I think. That's my theory on it. I'm sticking with it. And I probably talked about this about 42 minutes. I think that's long enough. That's way longer than I wanted to talk about this stuff. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube, and then I gotta go pick my wife up from work. So hopefully people watch and listen to this. Enjoy.